ACLU of Nevada is suing the Las Vegas Metro Police Department over its partnership with ICE.
We've said since the start of this administration, we're prepared to challenge any and every policy that impacts states' rights and infringes on civil liberties. Our obligation is to the people of Nevada. It's not to the federal government. We've seen destabilizing elements. We've had community centers like Broadacre shut down for a period because of threats related to ICE concerns. We've seen masked officers showing up and harming people in droves, pulling people who are crime victims and not criminals out of their cars and detaining them in places like Pahrump, where there's a detention center. And we can't allow these to continue, especially using state and local resources.
The lawsuit targets Metro's 287G agreement. It allows local police to hold people for ICE. The ACLU claims the agreement goes against Nevada law. Metro responded to Fox 5, saying the department does not comment on pending litigation.